I'm really excited about this session. We're going to be talking about your degree, your way, essentially like online learning at the University of Southern Queensland. I just love the flexibility that students have these days. But maybe first, for those people who might have missed our last session together, what were we talking about in our last recording, which people can find in the session catalogue down in the description below? Me, welcome back to the National Virtual Expo.
Thank you for having me back again. It's great to be here.
I'm really excited about this session. We're going to be talking about your degree, your way, essentially like online learning at the University of Southern Queensland. I just love the flexibility that students have these days. But maybe first, for those people who might have missed our last session together, what were we talking about in our last recording, which people can find in the session catalogue down in the description below?
Absolutely. So we were talking about why UniSQ. So why would you choose to study with us? Where are our campuses? What degrees do we offer? And what different pathways, opportunities do we have available to students? So definitely recommend checking that out if you're curious to know more about us.
So if you missed that session, you'll find it in the session catalogue links down below. And if you're joining us live today, thank you for joining us. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat, your questions and comments. Everybody will get an answer to all of their questions. If we don't get to them here during the live stream, then we will be answering everything on the Choosing Your Uni Discord. Same thing, details in the description down below. And if you're a parent, we have the Facebook community, same. All the questions will be reposted there with various answers. But Mia, this is a really important topic because higher education, particularly current government's got a big agenda about increasing equity, increasing access to higher education. Online's obviously an important part of that for those students who can't necessarily have an on-campus experience. Maybe let's get into your presentation, and if you're okay, as you go, if I see opportunities to sort of contribute my my knowledge, then I'll do so.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you again for joining us for this session. We're going to have a bit of a deep dive into what online study looks like at UniSQ because I'm very proud to say that this is one of our specializations and something that we've been doing for a very long time. I work in the National Student Recruitment team here at UniSQ, but I have also just started my own studies here in the Masters of Business Administration, and I'm doing that 100% online. So I'm myself experiencing the flexibility, and it's already been fantastic, especially managing full-time work with study. So really keen to explore this topic more with you all. I'd like to start by acknowledging the First Nations of Southern Queensland and their ongoing connection to country, lands and waterways. We pay deep respect to elders past and present, and we like to acknowledge that our places and our lands have always been lands of teaching and research and learning for tens of thousands of years. You may be familiar with our campuses, but just in case you're not, at UniSQ we have 3 locations. We have our Toowoomba campus, our Ipswich campus, and our Springfield campus. But often considered our fourth location is online because, as I said earlier, this is something that we've been doing for a really long time, offering flexible learning solutions to our students. So, as I said, we are the experts at this. We've been offering distance learning for over 40 years. My dad actually did his master's via distance ed when we were living out west, and he had his course materials mailed to him and then picked up the phone to talk to his teaching staff. So it's something that we've been doing long before COVID, and we've now been able to transition that into the online space and offer really quality teaching and student support online. 75% of our students are online. So if you choose to study online with us, you're certainly not alone. There is a huge community of students that you can interact with and network with. And this is something that I'm finding as well in my own studies through the consultation calls that I join. I'm getting to meet people from all over the country that I wouldn't have otherwise met, and people from a lot of different industries because the online learning has allowed them to balance their work in, let's say the mining industry or engineering with their studies. So that has been really, really great. We also have a lot of choice when it comes to online learning. So we have over 130 online degrees that our students can choose from. When you're exploring your study options, you'll come across our different study modes. So I thought I would explain the differences between study modes that we offer at UniSQ. So we have our on-campus study mode. This is where you'll be on campus for all of your classes. It's mandatory attendance, and you'll be able to really immerse yourself in that campus life. We also have our external study mode. Now, this is where the majority of your study is online and you only come on campus for the necessary practical components of your degree. And we like to make that as accessible as possible. So we will usually condense that practical learning into around a week or so. And we call that a residential school. So you'll come on campus for around a week, knock out all that study, and then go back to your online study. So it gives a little bit more flexibility for our students. And then finally, we have online, which is our 100% online offering. You'll access all your course materials through our UConnect portal, and you'll also have access to student forums and online live classes and consultation calls where you can ask questions in real time and chat with other students in your degree. How does online study actually work with us? So, you, as an online student, would cover exactly the same material as an on campus student, and you would graduate at the same time as an on campus student. So, there's no difference in the quality of teaching materials that you would have access to. As I said earlier, there's also no requirements to physically visit campus, but as a student, you will always have access to our facilities. So even if your classes aren't on campus, you can still come on campus and study in the library or go to the cafe, meet up with other students that are on campus. So the difference is you have the option and you can choose to come on campus when it suits you. And you'll access all of your course materials and student support via UConnect, as I said. So again, you're not disadvantaged by missing out on student support. That is all available to you via online chat or over the phone as well. In terms of course materials as well, we make it really easy with our library service. So you can have study materials delivered to any campus and pick that up. So I recently requested a book that was only available in Toowoomba, but I was able to request it to be delivered to Springfield, which is closer to me, and that made it super easy to access that particular resource that I wanted. You'll find that the majority of your learning materials and journal articles and any textbooks, a lot of textbooks that you might need to reference. A lot of that stuff is found online though. How to find online degrees at UniSQ. So when you're doing your research, it's really helpful to know where to look to see if your chosen degree is actually offered online. So on the website, we have our different degree pages, and you'll see that we have a location section on the website. So this particular degree, this is the Bachelor of Accounting that we're looking at. It's offered at Springfield, Toowoomba, but also online. So because it has that online option, that means that you would not have to come onto campus at all. It would be 100% remote learning. You can also find this information at the back of our undergraduate guide. So if you come and see us at an expo, or if you haven't pick up an undergraduate guide from school, you'll be able to flip to the back and see our different study modes listed there. So any degrees that have an O listed next to them, that means that they are 100% online and you won't need to come onto campus to study those.
You can download that from if you're watching this live or you're on the session page. Those guides are linked down in the description below.
Amazing. Thanks, Rob.
Oh, actually, and sorry, just while we're at that, Mia, the other thing is that I don't know if you mentioned this later in the presentation, but since I've interrupted you, I might
Yeah.
as well go on with it. If you would like some personalised advice
Yes.
about all of this, you're thinking about studying online, down in the description below, you'll also find a link to book in to chat with someone from UniSQ. So that's a personalised consultation, no cost involved in that, to talk about your specific options. You'll find that down below.
Amazing. Thanks, Rob. Yes, we like to talk about that as much as possible. So feel free to bring that up whenever. It's always good to have a reminder.
And look, can I just say, like, because there's this temptation these days that people feel like they have to do all of their own research, and like
Mm,
some of the bigger universities, like you can't. It's harder to talk to somebody, but this is a really good opportunity for you to engage and get personalised advice one on one. Don't hesitate to like make the uni do the heavy lifting to give you the information rather than you going and having to search everywhere for it. Book in down below.
yeah, absolutely. So, a couple of examples of different degrees that are offered online. So we have a Bachelor of Business, Bachelor of Psychology honours. So even something that's more in that allied health field. Bachelor of Psychology is one of the ones that we've been able to adapt to an online offering because we're able to do a lot of that, practical conversational learning still online. So that's something that we were really happy to be able to take into the online environment. Also, degrees like our Bachelor of Laws and our Bachelor of Information Technology. But as I said earlier, there's over 130 degrees offered online at UniSQ, so there's a wide variety for you to choose from. I'd like to take a moment to just look at some of our student testimonials and what they have to say about our online study options. So here we have Natalie, who studied the Bachelor of Psychology. And she said, I've studied in the car when waiting to pick up the kids from school, in the library where I can bring my kids, at home, at the girls' rehearsals, and even at their Eisteddfods. So I think that's a really great example of just being able to jump online and do little bits and pieces of study whenever suits you because when you have a family or when you're working full time, it's hard to find those moments where you can have that dedicated desk time. So I think that's a really great example of how online study can give you that flexibility to fit in with your schedule. This is Hayley. She graduated from her Juris Doctor. She chose to study at the University of Queensland because it was a university that offered distance education. I appreciate universities that strive to make learning accessible for everyone, not just students who live in major cities, have permanent residence, and can afford to study full time on campus. And I think Haley brings up a really fantastic point there, and something that you touched on at the start of the session, Rob, is around accessibility and being able to make study as accessible as possible for people so they don't need to move away from home, for example, to study. And Yeah, one thing we're finding, I'm not sure if you've come across many of the regional university study hubs or suburban university study hubs, but we're finding that a lot of students are able to make great use of those study hubs close to where they live and then do their study through us. So they might be living in regional New South Wales, but they can study through us and then and make use of those study hubs to support their learning. So yes, we're really proud to be able to offer that accessibility to students. And then finally, we have Noah, who is studying the Bachelor of Engineering Honours. So he said, it was an adjustment to studying some of my degree online. However, UniSQ is one of the best universities in this space since they were already online before COVID-19. The support was already there and in place. There was always someone contacting me to see how I was going. So we're really happy to hear that feedback from students. It's certainly the experience that we want to be able to provide is that extra level of support, and making sure that your experience is just as good as someone who is on campus, and you have as many touch points with your teaching staff and support staff as if you were on campus. Yeah.
Can I speak really quickly to that, Mia? I think this is a really important point, because if you're thinking of online study, you go to Google and you Google online Bachelor of Business, like you're gonna get like absolutely smashed by the number of results. And up the top, you're going to see a number of institutions spending a lot of money to to get your click through to look at their online, and they're the unis that got plenty of money. So how do you choose in amongst all of this? And this quote is so much more important than you might initially realize. Pre-COVID, online learning for many institutions wasn't a really big thing at all. It was more like an added on extra. COVID made a lot of unis go, oh crap, now we've got to move to this online learning thing, and they really kind of hustled to try and get things set up. And then on the other hand, you've got not a large number of institutions, but like UniSQ, who have literally been doing distance education as a major part of what they do for decades. And when I say decades, you're like, well, the internet hasn't been around for that long. Before the internet, they would literally record lectures onto a cassette tape and post them to you in the mail. So there are these institutions. I'm not going to mention them here, but I did talk about them in my opening keynote. There's maybe a half a dozen universities around Australia that are absolutely hardwired for online learning, and UniSQ is one of them. So yes, when you go and you Google online learning, you're going to see a bazillion options. That doesn't mean that there are a bazillion options that you should necessarily consider. My personal opinion, if you want to have the best online learning experience, you've got to go with a uni that has been doing this for a long, long time, for whom this is like hardwired into the way they operate. And that's a uni like UniSQ. 75% of students studying online, and those students are having a good experience because that shows up in the student satisfaction results. That means they're doing something right.
Thanks for that, Rob. That's awesome. I thought
Yeah,
I
look,
would.
once again, I'm not paid to spruik this, right? Like, I'm
No,
literally here to try and provide my independent thoughts and advice about these particular topics. That's what Choosing Your Uni does. It's why we built our platform. I've been doing the YouTube videos for almost 10 years. All of this is designed to have this independent lens on what suits you. And so when I say that with absolute conviction that if you want the best experience in that space, then that's the thing that you should be thinking about is who's been doing this the longest. They just didn't come like, oh great, we've got to do this now. It's not that easy. So yeah, that's why I really think UniSQ is absolutely worth a look in this space.
yeah, absolutely. And it's been a really important part of like we obviously have a lot of online offerings, but we're connected to the communities we serve, and particularly with our first campus, Toowoomba, part of that community is the regions that surround that, and people, in rural and remote areas. So, yeah, definitely a huge priority for us. for many, many years to make sure that those communities are serviced and have the access to higher education that they need. And we talked a little bit about, filling workplace shortages as well in regional Australia in our other session. And so I think that's another really important thing to us is making sure we can, help people from those communities gain the skills they need to then go back and work in the communities that they came from and serve those communities that need more people to go and live and work there. So yeah, amazing. We'll go into some of the FAQs that we get quite often, and then we'll have some time as well to go through some other questions from the audience. But these are some common questions that we come across with regards to online study. So the first is, can I receive Oz Study if I study online? And the answer is yes. So online university degrees are recognised by the government as tertiary study, much like if you're studying on campus. So you'd be eligible to apply and potentially receive that assistance, similar to an on-campus student. So that is a big yes, not something that you need to be concerned about if you're weighing up whether to study online or study on campus. Are online degrees recognised by employers in Australia? There are a lot of options that come up when you Google online study. So it can, there's a lot of questions around quality and will this actually get me a job after uni? But the answer is absolutely yes. So if you're doing an online degree from a reputable tertiary education provider, that holds exactly the same status as a degree that is completed on campus. And that's, the reason why not all of our degrees are offered online is because there are some degrees like your nursing or your paramedicine where in order to be accredited, you need to be doing in-person assessments and practical classes. So you can rest assured that if a degree is offered online, it means that we can provide the optimum, level of teaching fully online. We wouldn't offer something online if it really required you to be on campus. The last question I've got here is, I'm not sure what to study. How do I choose an online degree? And this comes back to what you were talking about earlier, Rob. So we are here to help you choose and help, take some of that burden off and help do that heavy lifting. We offer free appointments with our admissions team where you can receive tailored support and help you choose your particular degree. One thing I didn't mention in our previous session was that we also offer free career consultations. And although our career educators are obviously employed by UniSQ, they're really focused on providing agnostic advice. So they might tell you to go elsewhere and not go to UniSQ. They're there to provide that really independent advice about your career path. So they're a great resource for you to use as well if maybe you're not sure what your next step is and you're just trying to figure out what your passion is and what career you want to go into. They can help identify your skills and your passions and where you could apply those in a career and then provide that support as to where to study and where to work in order to achieve that dream career. So that's another really important resource that you can access at UniSQ.
Can I just chip in on that?
Yeah.
If you want to go to a private careers coach or consultant, you're going to pay $150 an hour, right? $150 an hour. And honestly, they're probably going to tell you almost exactly the same thing as you'll hear from this free service, for example. So to me, that's an absolute no-brainer. If you haven't had an opportunity to talk with a professional, and careers advising, careers coaching is an absolute professional occupation. So specialists can add a lot of value to your decision-making process. This is a brilliant place to start.
Yeah.
So how do they access that, Mia?
Yes. So it's all through our link to book an appointment. So I've included that on the screen here. I can probably open it up and just show you what the page looks like,
Yeah, why don't we do that? That's a great
if
idea.
you like.
Yep. Just take us a moment to do that.
Now, I just want to make sure. Let me stop sharing and share the
So,
new
and
screen.
while you do that, while you pull that up, just to talk about other general options for independent advising, that's what the Choosing Your Uni platform is for. Now, we built it to help people try and figure out what to study and where to study it. And so, if you want to sort of chat more AI style, AI advisor style, that's what we've built, and that's all powered by an independent data set, and it's all configured around your interests and goals, not just about any particular institution. So it's also just an easy starting point. But if you actually want to talk to a human, this sounds like a freaking amazing place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is our book an appointment page. So you can get to that through our contact page, or the easiest way is just Googling book an appointment UniSQ. And so this has offers different bookable appointments for different inquiries. So you can have a degree advisor discussion, you can have a high school student discussion, you can have a pathways discussion. So that is really fantastic tailored advice. That's the first place to go. We also have here our career advising practitioners. So you'd follow this link here to book an appointment with them and get that more holistic career advice. So, if you're interested in still coming on campus, there are lots of opportunities for you to do that, because just because you might be studying 100% online, it doesn't mean that you won't want to utilize our facilities and come and catch up with your online study buddies on campus. So you can still come and get a feel for the campus at various different events that we're hosting throughout the year. We have our personalized campus tours, which we offer on Thursdays and Fridays during term time. And we also offer those on a Saturday. So our next Saturday tours are coming up on the 6th of June. And those tours are where you get a one on one personalized campus tour with a student ambassador. And wherever possible, we'll match you with a student that is studying the area that you're interested in so that you can get that really in depth insight into that degree. We've also got Experience UniSQ sessions that are happening on the 17th and the 18th of June, and these are hands on, in depth sessions for year 11 and 12 students where they'll get an opportunity to do an activity with the academics that they would actually be learning from in future if they chose to go down that particular study path. And finally, we have UniSQ Open Day. That's coming up in August. We've got Ipswich and Springfield happening on the 8th of August and Toowoomba happening on the 15th of August. Again, that's a fantastic opportunity to come on campus, get a feel for the spaces that you'd be learning in, and chat with current staff and students about what it's really like studying with us. It's so important to get that insight from current students in particular, and I think those days are the days I find make the biggest difference for future students, and they get a lot out of those particular events and those conversations. So would highly recommend coming along and having a chat. That's it
Awesome.
from me, Rob. So
Thank
um,
you, Mia.
yeah, we've got some contact details on the screen here. Again, this goes to our admissions team. So if you do have any particular questions and you want to get in touch, you can use those details there. But I might hand over back to you for the Q&A.
A couple of questions. I had one come in through the chat there, and I had this one come in from Instagram, and it's running very close to time here, so probably only got a time for a minute or two. Does it cost more?
Online study? No.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It costs exactly the same amount because we want to we'll provide you with access to the same support, the same services as an on-campus student. So no.
Cool. Okay. This is a good question actually. Do all online degrees have an in-person component?
No.
Huh.
So with our online degrees, they are 100% online. And that's why we've made that distinction between an external degree and an online degree, because the external degree will be mostly online, but still have mandatory on-campus components. So if you see something that has that little O next to it, or it says that it's online at UniSQ, you know that that is 100% online for you.
Um, we won't have time for it, but the question did come through Instagram actually a little bit earlier, just saying when you mentioned about your own MBA online experience, somebody was asking, saying, "Oh, say more about that." But I think we're out of time, unfortunately. So yeah, maybe we can get you into the Discord to tell us more about your experience. Or
Yeah.
actually, you know what? Maybe I should get you back on the Choosing Your Uni podcast at some point to talk about that experience. But we are out of time, I'm afraid. It's been awesome having you at the National Virtual Expo. Thanks so much for joining me, Mia Mead from UniSQ.
Thanks for having me, Rob. See you later.
Well, I hope you got something out of this session. And if you have any questions at all, you can head to choosingyouruni.com and ask Lumen. Lumen is your AI guide who knows about every university, every pathway, every option that we've talked about throughout this virtual expo. And Lumen is available to talk to you 24/7. So it's ready when you are.